So I know that reviewing games is kind of out of my ordinary, but I wanted to go ahead and see how this does since I am a small channel. And if this goes well, maybe I'll go ahead and review some games in the future. But Thymesia is one of the games that I recently played and I honestly really enjoyed. I've played all of the Souls games except for Dark Souls 2. I haven't beaten that one yet, but I've played multiple Souls likes and all the like. So I'm going to state this now. I'm not good at any type of game like that. I honestly would I'd say that I'm around average, but yeah, it's it is a interesting game. I like the whole fighting mechanic, and I honestly did feel kind of underwhelmed with the amount of bosses because I kind of sped ran through the game, but so I could have missed a lot. But what I did find is I found, the the three bosses before the actual final boss, and then of course there was the final boss. The footage that you're seeing right now, I did really like Odor's fight, and the reason why I liked him, and I'll say why I didn't like the future bosses, but I honestly, this is the first boss that you actually fight before after you lose to Varg, and then you wake up, and then you go on from there. So this is the actual first boss of the game. I think that he's a pretty cool boss. As you can see, I struggled, and this game is very, very dependent on pairing perfectly. I played Sekiro, and even after playing Sekiro, I'm not the best at pairing, but I did my best. I beat him. I wouldn't say that he's too hard. None of the bosses are really that hard. The only boss that I would really say is hard is the final boss, but again, that's gonna be a topic that I talk about later in this review. Odor does have a second phase, which I'm fighting right now. His second phase works because he does get like brand new moves, but later on, especially during Varg, I think that's where it starts to lose the appeal of the second phase because it just doesn't feel natural, because it just feels like they try to make it a little bit harder for the player. Because I mean, if it was just one phase of Varg, that would have been one thing, but it's just, I don't know, it feels like they tried to make it harder, but it really didn't need that. Hand Queen was probably my least favorite, only because it's just the whole, like, you'll see in this clip, she does this one attack and you basically, I could have missed something completely, but you literally just have to brute force it, just like if you're fighting Moog and he does his unblockable attack. It I don't really like that idea. I think it kind of took some of the fun away, but in a way it also didn't, because I mean, Hanged Queen isn't a hard boss. As you can see, even though she can regenerate, I am tanking away at her health pretty easily. But right there, see, I tried to block it, it didn't work. That's kind of where I have an issue, and I think if I was able to block it, this fight would have been a lot easier. But also, if they did add a second phase to this fight, I would have complained a lot more about this fight, just like I would with the other bosses. Again, I can see that the passion was here, but when you get later on to the game, such as when you fight Varg, it doesn't get, like, don't get me wrong, I think Varg was the best boss in this game. I had the most fun with Varg, which you're seeing right now. Varg is the tutorial boss, and you could try to fight Varg, but I got clapped. It's honestly, dude, I don't know if there's New Game Plus. I never tried to go into New Game Plus, but I think next time, if I ever played this skin, I would try to fight Varg. But at the beginning, if it's your first playthrough, completely just skip Varg. let Varg kill you and then progress, because starting off he is pretty hard, and I have done multiple souls runs with as level 1s, so I understand like the challenge. It's just like being introduced to a new game. The parry system in here is very, very, I guess the best way to describe the parry system is that it's very precise, and it's not like Sekiro where you can kind of just sit there and hide behind your katana. You could get the skill, but I didn't because it was locked. And that also falls into my talking about the skill tree. There is some things in the skill tree where it just feels like it should have been like a core mechanic, kind of like how the so in this game you get staggered a lot. And if you get staggered, oh, you're screwed. The whole fight is basically over, because the enemies do hit pretty hard. So that's why, like, it kind of does follow the Sekiro path of wanting you to be aggressive and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, which I think is a good idea. It's just the way that they stagger you, and then you have to unlock the things that way you could get back up if you get staggered, or literally just come out of the stagger fast enough. You have to unlock that through the skill tree. See, I don't really like that idea. I think that with how fast-paced combat Thymesia is, I think that should have been part of it. But now we have to talk about the final boss, and dear God, I did not like it. See, the whole idea of the game is, you know, you're going through your memories and you're finding out your past. I think that's a cool idea, especially since you start off as a plague doctor, like, not really as a plague doctor, but you look like one, which was the whole appeal to me. I like that idea. And especially since it's a Souls-like, I see it get referred to a lot as like the Bloodborne of PC. I'd honestly have to differ, honestly, just because the parry system felt more similar to Sekiro, but it's also in the same regard that it's its own game. And so that's why, like, I kind of disagree with the whole statement of this being Bloodborne for PC, just because it's just like, I played Bloodborne and the aesthetic looks like Bloodborne. I understand that. Which, don't get me wrong, the game design, and especially Corvus's boss arena, I think it looks great. I think that most of the boss arenas look pretty cool. And especially with like Varg, for example, I liked his design. I liked his entire fight. I have my complaints about Varg's fight, but I still really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy this game. And, you know, getting into it, I wasn't too sure, especially if, like, because I have tried some of the other different types of soulsbornes, and it's just, some of them are hit and miss, and I was not too sure what I was going to get into with Thymesia. I would definitely not say that it's anything genre defining or anything like that. Honestly, I would really put this game at like around a 7 to an 8 out of 10. And like, as much fun as I had with it, I truly just think that it's nothing more than really an 8 out of 10. And that's kind of like being generous towards it. Only because I didn't like the idea of, say, Corvus, for example, of having a second phase. It's just, like, Corvus is you, and you don't have, like, a second life to come back and fight again. You see, it's just, like, I feel like that kind of just, like, goes against the whole idea of it being me. But that's just me. I could be too critical over that. But in general, it's a short game. Honestly, trying to beat Corvus took me 3 hours. So if I didn't take 3 hours, I would have beaten the game in two hours, and that would have been it. So for a $25 game, honestly, wait for it to go on sale, because if you're actually good at these types of games, you can definitely beat it in 2 hours. I'm not the best. So I did have fun though. I would, if you see this game, if you see this video, give it a try. It's really worth it, in my opinion, because I did have fun. I could criticize the little things about it, but in general, I had fun. And that's what matters when it comes to a video game, is the player's enjoyment. And in that regard, the game succeeded. And I had fun. But that's about it. Thank you.